For our first unit's PowerPoint, we'll be talking about multiculturalism, but we also need to be thinking about the state of multiculturalism, race relations, and diversity in the United States today. See if I can get this in slideshow format. A lot of people think that this is not an issue today. We don't need to be talking about diversity, race relations. Do you think that's true? Do you think that, those things are in our past, we've moved past that, and so on? I think we still have a long way to go in these areas. If you have a chance, for example, just pick up a newspaper and look through it in the view of looking at multiculturalism, race relations, diversity. And I bet you'll see several items that are addressing these things. Let's start by what we mean by culture. Culture consists of these 5 basic things: symbols, anything that carries a particular meaning recognized by people who share that culture. So for example, in the United States we have the flag, and everybody knows what that is and stands for. Number 2 is language, a system of symbols that allows people to communicate with one another. And language is what allows for the continuity of a culture, and that a culture will continue. We can't learn anything without language. It could be sign language, it could be Spanish, it could be English, it could be Ebonics, but some sort of language. Values are the culturally defined standards by which people assess desirability, goodness, and beauty, and that serve as broad guidelines for social living. Beliefs are specific statements that people hold to be true. Beliefs are particular matters that individuals consider true or false. And finally, norms. Norms are the rules and expectations by which a society guides the behavior of its members. Most important norms in a culture apply everywhere and at all times. So think about those 5 things. How do you define your culture? Recognize that who we are is influenced by all aspects of the society around us, whether directly within our own microculture or in the macroculture or other microcultures around us. Understand the role that they play in shaping who we are, our opinions, our viewpoints, or altering the lenses in which we view the world. So thinking about those things, what is American culture? On the next slide is one author's viewpoints about American culture. Take a minute and read through those things. Do you agree with that? Do we have one American culture, or do we have many different cultures? Thinking about the diversity in the United States, and also there's been a push for multicultural education, and we will get into that. There's been a historical background, starting really in the 1920s, but we'll jump up to the 1960s and just think about the 1960s and the influence with the civil rights movement, the women's rights movement, but really think about it's the struggle between the melting pot and the salad bowl. Are we a monoculture or multicultural society? Do we believe in assimilation of new groups into our American culture, or do we believe in acculturation, where new groups of people learn how to function in society, but also may be able to maintain their own culture? And then in the 90s, we saw an increase in the multicultural education concept, probably because of this changing demographics in society that we have. So what is multicultural education? You should have already on the wiki wrote down what you thought multicultural education is. Here's a definition of multicultural education by James Bank, who is a leader in multicultural education. Please take a second and read this definition of his. There are some basic beliefs and assumptions of multicultural education, and you can read these. Here are the first three. And numbers 4, 5, and 6. Take a minute and just read through those. Banks also says that if you have a multicultural program, that you need these 5 things. Content integration, which is the inclusion of materials, concepts, and values from a variety of cultures in teaching. That knowledge construction is the recognition that all knowledge is socially constructed, created in the minds of human beings to explain their experience, and thus can be challenged. Ideas that shape society do change. As such, knowledge construction is a primary aspect of multicultural education because before teachers can effectively teach multiculturally, they must reconstruct their worldviews. Equity pedagogy involves when teachers alter their teaching methods to accommodate various cultural differences of diverse students to stimulate academic achievement. Number 4, prejudice reduction concerns changing the students' attitudes towards differences of race, ethnicity. It can also mean teaching tolerance about religion or physical or mental ability differences, for example. And then finally, empowering school culture is the dimension of multicultural education that enables the other 4 dimensions. Educators must examine the structures of education that impede learning and empower students and families from diverse racial, ethnic, and gender groups. So what does that mean in your classroom? The teaching implications you can see: 1, know the role that group identity and individual identity play on students' learning styles. And then understand that the school is an institution or a system. You must, to really truly implement multicultural education, it needs to be throughout the system. Thinking about the hidden curriculum that may come from the white middle class viewpoint. Teachers need to understand diverse culture from which they came, even if they've adapted to the white middle class norms in an effort to relate to the diverse student population. There needs to be a balance of acculturation and assimilation. And then finally, elements of holistic school reform. Think about school policy and politics, school staff attitudes, perceptions, beliefs, and actions, teaching styles and strategies, your formalized curriculum, instructional materials, assessment procedures, again the school curriculum, intended and the hidden curriculum, learning styles, languages and dialects of the school, and community participation and input. So let me leave you with this question. Does your school practice multicultural education? And of course, most of us immediately say, well, yes, of course. But thinking about the dimensions and teaching implications, what's your evidence that your school practices multicultural education? So just take a few minutes and think about that. Thanks for listening to this. If you have any questions, concerns, or comments, please let me know. And go ahead and make sure that you complete the rest of the activities for Unit 1 as we increase our learning and understanding about multicultural education.